Next, excuse me, why don't you, okay. Mr. Anthony Hrivnak is going to give a brief overview of his budget at this point, and these overviews are very helpful.
Thank you, committee and our parents that have gathered here, our community members that have gathered here today. My presentation is on page 111, if you're keeping track in the in the manual there.
111 of 122.
Yes, correct. So we're getting towards the end. If you look, the only thing I really want to point out that is drastically different than either the high school budget that was presented a few weeks ago or the elementary budget is the staffing section at the very top on page 111 there, where it says that I have 2.4 science teachers, 4 English teachers, and 3.8 mathematics teachers. The reason for that is that each teacher in my building teaches one section of social studies. Okay. So while it says 4 English teachers, there's actually 5 people that represents, but each one of those people is a .2 social studies teacher as well to make up one social studies position. Okay, you could go through the rest of the positions and figure that out as well. So you can see the staffing there for science, English, mathematics, social studies, and then we also have 1 foreign language teacher. We have our elective teachers. We have a part-time art teacher, a .6 art teacher, a full-time music teacher, a full-time engineering technology teacher, and a full-time wellness physical education teacher. And then you can see our special education staff, custodial staff, support staff, as you move down the page there. You can also see that we offer a couple of accelerated courses in grade 7 math and in grade 8 algebra, and that kind of speaks to also what Mr. Devine was talking about tonight in the courses that they offer at the high school and how we are aligned with what the high school offers up here. If we go on to the next page, it has a listing of the co-curricular activities that we have listed there. And there are only a couple that are listed there, but this year we do have a new program that had no effect on the budget, so it doesn't appear in here, but we have an enrichment program where during the school day we carved out 40 minutes 3 times a week where teachers offer just a wonderful variety of enrichment activities. So, for instance, our music teacher is offering bucket drumming and piano lessons. Our technology engineering teacher is offering robotics and something called pumpkin chunkin', where we build a catapult and we chuck
That's a
pumpkins.
big thing.
There we go. And there's just all kinds of different activities that the teachers have offered throughout the year. So even though we have a few stipended positions, there really is a lot more in terms of enrichment going on at Memorial Middle School. And then as you work down the page there, you have your budget line items for dues and fees. For digital learning, we are a one-to-one iPad school, and with that we have websites that we use and apps that we purchase that are accessed by students through the iPad. And also our textbooks, every textbook that we've purchased since I've been here has been a digital textbook. So we are, as we totally embrace the one-to-one iPad program, just making all of our textbooks digital as well. And it really is nice. When I first started, we used to have lots of complaints about the locker and kids not being able to fit their books in their locker, their jackets in their locker. It's just something we simply don't deal with anymore. We just don't have those complaints anymore. So that one-to-one iPad program has a lot of educational benefits, but it's also had a couple of these little operational benefits which just kind of make everybody a little bit happier and a little bit easier going at the middle school. We're not fighting and kind of jockeying over locker space. And then you can see there's some other curriculum materials that are purchased every year. Our History Alive workbooks. The Key Curriculum Press is a math program that we use in 8th grade. And we use Scholastic Magazine in all of our subjects. English, math, science, social studies, all use the Scholastic magazines. And we also purchased John Collins writing materials as we've been doing that program for about 4 years now. And then, of course, the last item on there is just our classroom supplies and other subject area supplies.
Thank you very much.
Sure, you're welcome.
Thanks. Does anyone have any questions or anything?
Is there a reduced cost using digital textbooks as compared to hard copy?
Yes and no. So the original purchase up front is certainly significantly less than purchasing a paper textbook. However, with the digital textbook, most of the licenses last for 7 years. So at 7 years, you have to repurchase your textbook. Whereas with a paper version, you frequently would stretch that to an 8th year or a 9th year, depending on how your budget was. So probably in the long run, it's equaling out. But the nice thing about that is that you are going to be giving your students constantly up-to-date materials. Okay. And as I'm looking around, I really feel like the digital materials are getting cheaper and cheaper as well as competition increases.
Are they a subscription where they're continuously updating them versus a hard print text would be what it is what it is?
Yes and no. They're continuously updating them if errors are found. However, I think they also, textbook companies are businesses and they want to make money. So they are still producing their latest edition of whatever textbook they're offering. And they do try to push schools towards that latest edition. So it is possible that there are editions out there that are more up to date or have, if it's a history textbook, might go further along than a previous edition. But they do correct errors and add resources and increase functionality as time goes by. But they are still trying to do that. Here's the first edition, here's the second edition, here's the third edition, because they are a business and they are trying to make money.
Do you see moving towards a model where teachers are creating their own textbooks online using software such as iBook authoring or other online tools versus buying the textbook with so much information available online?
I can't say that I would feel qualified to answer that question right now. Certainly, some of our teachers kind of do that naturally. I know that when I taught chemistry, by the time I was finishing up with my 7th year, I had probably a binder that was about 6 inches thick that, every chapter I had found supplemental material that worked for this type of learner or that type of learner. So I think teachers do that naturally. I don't want to say that we're, at least in the short term, going to be in a situation where we're no longer purchasing textbook because each teacher is writing their individual textbook themselves.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thanks,
much, Mr. Hrivnak.
Drive
Ms.
safely.
Judith Say, yes, drive safely.